Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the T podcast. My name is Jordan Michael Colson, your humble host, joined today by the big brass, the men in charge, CEO of Great Life Golf and Golfback, John Brown, and of course, our distinguished guest at this time, Jason Harshbarger, Chief Financial Officer for Great Life Golf, fresh off of his appearance at the Multi-Course Operators Conference. And Jason, where were you just on vacation? In a beautiful, scenic, historic area. Where were you just now as I'm looking through your Instagram?
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have a great team here, Jordan. So I had the opportunity to get away a little bit. Got some older kids now that actually like enjoying traveling with us. So I spent a little time in Montana for a little guys trip, doing some fly fishing, did a little PBR rodeo, and then gathered the family up and headed west to California in connection with the Monterey, California MCOR conference.
So have you always been a man of the woods, a man of nature, a man of the elements?
Been pretty fortunate. My parents got me into that pretty early. Did a lot of national parks as a kid. Between that and amusement parks, it seemed to be our two main go-tos. So yeah, I have an appreciation for nature, and there's some great places to see out there for sure.
Awesome, and of course, CEO John Brown joins us as he always does. John, you've been making your rounds as always. What's it been like for you the past several weeks? We haven't done a show in a while, so catch people up on the life and times and the fast lane of John Brown.
Well, first we have to explain why our co-host isn't here, Bryce. We replaced him with Jason because we just figured, we saw the ratings, they were starting to dip, so we canned Bryce. Now, Bryce will be back on the next episode. We're looking forward to having him back. Actually wanted to invite Jason in, my partner, CFO, with Great Life, because he was at the Multi-Course Operators Conference last week, hosted by the NGCOA, National Golf Course Owners Association. So he's got some great perspective from that conference. So we're going to pick his brain today, but just doing what we do, Jordan, trying to sell as many golf rounds as we can at the highest average dollar per round, creating a great experience, obviously investing capital into our properties, and looking to push both Great Life and Golfback forward.
John, now there's rumors abound that Jason he's got a thirst for the spotlight ever since if I'm being honest, he kind of upstaged everybody on the Office Tour video.
Yes.
And so now he's got a taste of the spotlight, and he's ready for action here. Do you see among all the other endeavors that he has his hands in, do you see perhaps a career on the silver screen for young Mr. Harshbarger over here?
Well, his wife said he watched hours of MTV Cribs, and he took away what the best host interactions were during that, and he brought that to our Office Tour, and no, we're glad to have Jason here, but we got him in front of camera. He's got a beard, though. He looks a little different. He grew a beard over the last 30 days, so people might not recognize him on camera right now.
Listen, Jordan, I'm going to leave this up to the younger generation. I'm just going to stick in my cave over here and count some numbers.
So tell us a little bit about the conference itself. I had the privilege of being at a few conferences with both of you and the Golfback team not too long ago. However, I know each one is a different endeavor in and of itself. So what was this one like? What did you take away from it?
Yeah, John and I have been fortunate enough to attend a lot of conferences over the years. I think John attended MCOR last year for the first time. He came back with a very positive review of the conference, and I pretty much echo exactly what he said last year. Unfortunately, John had a family vacation this year, got to spend some time with his family and friends, so I had the opportunity to go out there. Again, it was held in Monterey, California. NGCOA, the National Golf Course Owners Association, is the lead advocate of this and puts this conference on. And it was a great session. As a multi-course owner, we get one free registration to attend. Fortunately, we were able to bring PJ Politan, our COO, out with me, and we had a great week. Our wives were able to attend. PJ and I got a lot out of it. It is a meeting of the minds in terms of everyone in the golf industry. I don't want to say like the Mount Rushmore, but you have that basically of industry professionals and colleagues that are out there. Jim Hinckley from Century Golf Partners, David Pillsbury from Invited, Tim Shantz from Sharoon, and Steve Skinner from Kemper Sports. You had 14 of the top 25 management companies were present, and 6 of them were in the top 10. And so we had a great time convening as an industry, talking about some of the issues that are out there in terms of our increasing operating costs as it relates to insurance, agronomic products, supply chain. And it was great to hear what everybody was going through, some of the solutions that people have invoked as part of their operations, and the sharing of resources was just phenomenal.
Now, John, you obviously didn't attend this year, but do you echo Jason's sentiment from what you heard and what you were able to take home from being a third party to the conference this year?
Yes, I mean, I was really not upset because I love being on vacation with my family for a week, but it was a shame I had to miss it this year. But educationally, the speakers they have there, they're a little bit more global topics, I'd say. And I remember a few years back, I think it was 2019, I attended. Condoleezza Rice was there, and she was talking about situation room decisions that were made whenever during President Bush's term, and like you just don't get that type of value too often in those types of settings. And beginning last year, they created the executive leadership meeting at the end of the conference, which is where the CEOs or CFOs of the major management companies meet, discuss the industry, and I could see just from Jason's notes, Century Golf invited, Troon Golf Kemper, Landscapes, Touchstone, Founders, Concert Golf, Sunbelt, Heritage, Marriott, Corsco, Escalante, Big Cedar Lodge, Great Life. We were all at that meeting talking about the industry, and obviously there's been a lot of positives about where the industry's gone, especially in the past 4 years since COVID happened. But I think there's also some escalating concerns, which Jason touched on. It's just a great conference to really network, learn about the industry, and make some decisions, and frankly, motivate you moving forward. Are you more motivated today after attending?
Absolutely, and it was cool to have the collaborative conversation around everybody's operations. Right, this is not something you get to hear each and every day, and for the executive teams of these great companies to share kind of what they've experienced over the last year, and in comparison year over year, was phenomenal to hear. And we keep it in the room. But it's great to hear some of the challenges that people are facing. And what was really interesting to me is, we've got a lot of tailwinds post-COVID, right? So we've got a lot of revenue opportunity. But what you don't typically see or hear at a lot of these conferences is on the expense side, and how we've kind of shifted as an industry from the revenue side to the expense side, and trying to really curb and control those costs that we're experiencing right now. I don't want to say that our industry partners or vendors are like taking advantage of the success that we're having, but we are seeing escalating insurance costs, cost of our course maintenance materials with chemicals, fertilizer, and seed, and just other products and services that we need in the industry. So there's been a huge shift in focus from the revenue side to that expense side, and how we curb and control those costs.
I think we're at an inflection point too, because most golf courses in the United States were built between 1985 and 2005, and they're all creeping on that 25-year-old, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, 40-year-old barrier. And we know what happens when you reach that age as a golf course, right? Your infrastructure basically needs completely revamped. Irrigation, HVAC, pump houses,
Roofs.
cart paths, roofs. And so, I mean, there's multi-million dollars that are needed to upgrade your facilities. And the entire industry, although there's some tailwind, is going to need to basically turn over their infrastructure, right? And so, yes, we're in a good space, but we're also at an inflection point where, the supply of golf courses is not going to go up, right? Destination properties are being built here and there, but that's about it. Yeah. Your core community golf course, your traditional resort golf course, your typical private club or public course that you think about, those aren't going to be built anymore, right? So we have what we have, and now it's time to update the infrastructure.
John, I've heard you say that, and you sort of just touched on it, but since I have both of you here, I will ask. I've heard you say in multiple conversations that the number of golf courses, let's just say domestically, is not going to increase. And the reason for that is just it's no longer cost effective, there's other avenues, or what is the primary reason for that? Does it always come back to revenue, especially since we have our CFO here to answer from this perspective?
I think number one, it's cost. That's a big hurdle. You can go out and buy a golf course for far less than you can build it, right? But the legal, environmental environment around, building a golf course is totally different, right? It's just, you can't do what you could do 30 years ago anymore, right? So the hurdles there are immense. So I think the idea that someone is willing to burden themselves with a cost, and then they've got the ability to navigate the political, legal environment to actually get a golf course built, I think that's just not something that we're going to see. So basically what we have, our supply is what we have, which is good for course owners and operators. But the reality is every year, everything gets older, and the one thing I've learned since the start of Brown Golf, which Jason and I have been partners since 2011, we merged into Great Life in 2022, is if you don't have a plan for capital infrastructure improvements, then you will fail. And that's a fact.
Yeah, and to John's point, like it's way cheaper to go out and buy an existing facility than to try and develop one on your own. I mean, we had detailed discussions at MCOR about the cost of the irrigation systems nowadays. And
Yep.
obviously the irrigation system is the heart of your golf facility, right? So these new irrigation systems are multi-million-dollar investments that you have to have. And just to start at that level for a new property is unheard of and just doesn't make economic sense.
I mean, you can buy golf courses for less than you can buy irrigation systems. I mean, that's a fact. So you can get a 150-acre golf course for less than you can purchase, irrigation systems in some scenarios. So
We have such an interesting culture here at Great Life Golf and at Golfback with the team of accountants. They seem to genuinely like each other, for one, which is almost like an irreplaceable trait to have in the workplace. They enjoy each other's company. They're here past office hours to actually spend time together to hit the simulator. So speak a little bit about leading your team into battle and what that's been like for you from your background as an accountant into the golf business and beyond.
Yeah, you said it, Jordan. We've got a great team from a Golf Back and Great Life perspective. I've got some of the best in the industry. They're very dedicated to what they do. They've been willing to listen and maybe learn from myself and some of the more senior people here. Lisa Fink has been a golf course accountant for 20 plus years. She's got a lot of experience, and we brought her on kind of mid-tier of the Brown Golf Great Life portfolio, and some of our people that have been here longer than she has have listened to her and gained some experience and knowledge from her based on the years and years and years that she's had within the industry. Collectively, we get our work done, but at the same time, we also like to enjoy what we actually work on. So that, to your point, we'll take time and go out and enjoy some of our local facilities here, Royal Manchester Golf Club, which is right down the road. I know they all participated in our Great Life Gives program that we had, our first charitable outing about a week or so ago, and had a great time doing it. So whether or not they played in it or just worked the event, they got some experience outside of what we see and do every day from an accounting standpoint. And I have the best team.
There's a lot of misconceptions for people that are laymen to the industry. When a lot of people see golf, they think higher end, more like affluent lifestyle. I know I did at first, and now I get a little bit of the perspective of what it really means to get down to the nitty gritty and how much things actually cost. So when people see a golf course, they probably often think, oh, like the owners, the operators, they're probably just rolling in it. But from your perspective, Jason, how many golf courses or what percentage of golf courses are actually operating at a profit versus a loss?
Yeah, great question. And, we find a little bit different airspace in some of those properties that you talked about. When we started Brown Golf, we were, I don't want to say blue collar, but we were more, anywhere between $2 and $5 million in revenue, where some of these destination properties are doing way more than that. So we do find a little bit different airspace. And, in preparation for today, I did look up this stat. And in 2016, which obviously was pre-COVID, 67% of all golf courses were profitable, 43% on the public side and 38% on the private side. Now, post-COVID, obviously we got a little tailwind. I would expect those numbers to have increased a little bit. But it is a tough industry, right? Because there's many different businesses wrapped into one, right? From a food and beverage perspective, we know how tough the restaurant industry can be. We deal with weather since we're an outdoor sport. We're dealing with a hurricane coming up the East Coast today or this week, and it's impacting every one of our golf facilities up and down the East Coast. We're dealing with a living organism, grass. It is tough. It's hard to maintain your own lawn. Imagine what you're trying to do with a golf facility that is your main asset and primary asset for your operation. So it is a tough business to work and to really succeed in. Fortunately, we have great operators that are out there in the form of these management companies. And an interesting stat that I did bring back from MCOR is that only 15% of all the golf courses are actually professionally managed. I thought that number was super, super low. But it was a very interesting stat, and it tells you about the opportunities that are out there for organizations like ours.
That's surprisingly low.
That number's always been lower than what people might think that number is as far as total that are professionally managed. The reality is 67% was the number Jason gave pre-COVID as far as what courses that were profitable. It's probably pushed up to 75-80%. Courses are definitely healthier. Where I think might not be analyzed to the degree it needs to be analyzed is just what your capital infrastructure costs are going to be. So, for example, if you have a $2 million property, right, and let's say you got a 4% management fee. So you got a professional company that's in there for 4% of revenues, call that $80,000. Let's say you got principal and interest on your mortgage and debt that costs you $150,000 a year, right? My guess is you probably need $150,000 to $200,000 in capital each year for the next 10 years to turn your systems infrastructure over, right?
Okay.
And so, profitable, is it net cash or is it EBITDA? You know what I mean? So I think the reality is that, we still have about 20% of the market, which is probably in a pretty bad position financially to be able to update their infrastructure. And that's why there's still going to be more golf courses that close than open still, even over the next couple of years, even with these tailwinds. I think overall the industry is healthier. We are moving in the right direction. There are a lot of positives, especially with the consumer base growing and the supply not growing. But the idea that it's a lucrative business, it's a very challenging business. But if you do it the right way, there are opportunities.
What is the main reason, in your opinion, this is just a follow-up, that it is such a low percentage that are operated by a management company? Do the owners they want to do it themselves, or do they have a misconception about what a management company actually does?
I think one, it's still relatively new to the industry. Dana Garmany was the director of golf at Troon North, and he stepped out and created, Troon Golf, which that was in the early '90s, so still relatively new. That's probably the first so management company that I know of as far as timeline. So I think still relatively new, and I do think there are some. Well, call them misconceptions or call them just being careful. I think that the industry and golf course owners as a whole, when you say management companies, there's great management company experiences and there's poor management company experiences. So, as a whole, I think if you're a management company, the number one responsibility is that you make the right decisions for the course owners and that you're not just building your own business on the backs of your clients and course owners.
You have a lot of people that are owners that are new to golf. John and I are running into this situation right now. We're getting ready to onboard a new golf course here in South Central Pennsylvania, and they've been very successful in another industry, right? So there's been opportunities, and I don't want to say just for doctors and lawyers, but people that have been successful in business in other industries that have had a passion for golf and had an opportunity to invest in a golf course, and they've done so. And sometimes, I don't want to say their ego gets in the way, but they've been very successful in their own industries and they think they can translate that into golf. And they may not be as apt to hire a management company because of the success that they've had in other industries. Fortunately, this particular ownership group has come to us and said, we don't know what we don't know. And they want to give us the opportunity to help them through this. So we're excited and fortunate to have that opportunity to work with them.
All right, so Jason, John talks about TrackMan and golf simulators quite often. And do you genuinely believe that these technologies can ultimately bring more players to green grass golf?
This is one of my major takeaways from MCOR. And one of our industry colleagues had said, we had so many barriers to entry for green grass golf, right? You had to have the equipment, you had to have the shoes, you had to have a collared shirt, tees, balls, all that. Now you can go to a Top Trace or a Top Golf facility, walk in, pay your $45. They give you all the clubs you want. They give you all the balls you need. And you go out and have a great experience, right? So how cool is that as an introduction to golf to be able to go out and experience that at a very limited cost? And I thought that was an interesting point that was made during the MCOR conference and how that is translated into what we're seeing now on the off-course experiences between the simulators, TrackMan, Top Tracer, Top Golf facilities that are out there, and how that has slowly converted over to the green grass business that we see today.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, that it doesn't necessarily correlate directly to more players playing green grass golf. Can a simulator at a club, we have it at Sapono, we have a great Top Tracer at Orange Lake, we have one at Dolphin Head, can those outlets, can those platforms generate a viable and sustainable revenue stream in and of themselves for a club?
They can. I think at a minimum, they provide some excitement and a new experience at a club, which is good. I do think that the opportunity as an industry with 15 million people playing off-course golf and about 26 million playing green grass is how do we document the players using those different, lower barrier of entries? How do we document who they are, when they're playing, and then build a path to introducing them to green grass? If we don't do that it's a missed opportunity, right? And that goes both ways, right? Take our green grass golfers, have them play on our simulators. Take our simulator golfers, have them play green grass golf. So we need to continue to advance the idea that, hey, because you play on a simulator, you should move over and try it on the golf course, right? And we need to build those marketing paths and create that total experience. And I think we have that opportunity, and I'm excited about it as an industry. But without some real thinking about how we move those folks from simulators to green grass golf and marketing paths, I think it's a missed opportunity.
As you mentioned, we've installed a simulator at Sapona as well as at Dolphin Head, and obviously we have our 12-bay top tracer range down at Orange Lake, and we are tracking that on a weekly basis, right? Every Monday or Tuesday, John and I get a report from our on-course operators tracking out what our bay rentals or simulator bookings have been for the week. We compare that to our overall cost, and we look at our return on investment for those facilities. So we are tracking that. I think personally that some of the markets that see a significant climate change, i.e. meaning going from a summertime to a true winter experience, out west and things like that. I talked to one of our industry colleagues who has a place in Montana, and they have an 18-hole Jack Nicklaus signature facility there, and they said their bays are completely slam-packed during the winter months. Can't even get into them. So will we experience that in some of our southern climates? A little bit, but probably not as much as we would see in areas where we have significant climate change, like I mentioned before. So there's opportunities out there, I think, to again whet the appetite of what we've got now in terms of the top golf experience and converting and being able to capitalize on the properties that we have, like converting those ranges over to a top tracer range where they can kind of get that same experience, or offering that simulator experience where they can play their friends and family members from across the country, or play different games on there, is an opportunity that we just have to take on.
What are we looking for on a return? I think, if we make the initial investment into a simulator room and it costs us $125,000, if we could get an 18-month payback, we'd be ecstatic. If 24 months, we're pretty happy. I think all the way up to 36 months, we're probably still going to continue to convert. I think if we get outside 36 months, we're into 48 months, 60 months until we get our initial payback. We probably pump the brakes and maybe refocus the capital somewhere else. We are tracking under 36 months on both the top tracer investments and both the simulators right now. So I think we're pretty happy with where the return is coming in, and it looks like an area that we're going to continue to invest as a company.
And we've learned a lot from the first couple of investments that we made, right? So we've learned that there's things that you can encounter as you're going through these construction projects, especially on our top tracer range. So we've learned from those experiences going into the second and third opportunities that we may look at. I think we'll do them a little bit better as well.
So again, Jason, I talked to John about this quite a bit, but is there anything specific that you look for when attempting to incorporate a property into the Great Life portfolio?
Yeah, John and I have this conversation each and every time we go out to look at a new facility, and I'm probably going to hit on 80% of what he would probably say anyways. But obviously price, right? When it comes down to it, the price that needs to make sense for the individual property. Location is key for us now. I think we've learned early on in our career that we weren't as focused on location, but obviously we need to have a metropolitan area that obviously has an influx of customers that are going to want to play our facilities. One of the things we look at very strongly with our golf back platform is, what type of barter tee time arrangements does that facility currently have? Are we able to capitalize on converting that barter relationship and bringing it in-house, where the owner-operators, i.e. us, would be able to retain 100% of that green cart fee revenue? Do they have a dynamic pricing platform in place? That is huge in the industry now, and if you're not taking advantage of it, you're getting left behind. In terms of total revenue, we like to see 70% of that being golf revenues versus a food and beverage dollar. So that's very, very important to us. Obviously, labor to revenue metrics, operating history, operating expense history. What are they currently spending on? What may we be able to capitalize on in terms of our larger national account relationships that we have? Are they spending, or are they making sure that every dollar is effectively spent? Are they getting the value out of every dollar being spent? And then, do they own their current carts and equipment? That's a plus if they do. A lot of places don't, but if they do, then that's something that we do not have to worry about moving forward as long as it's in operating shape.
Jason, kind of a personal question that I'm curious about. Coming from your financial background, one of the most probably analytical, fact-based brains that I've ever met. So is there any part of you that can go on a golf course and say, this one just feels right, I'm going to let some of my emotions pour out, I really would like to get involved with this property, or do you take all emotion out of it?
I try and take all emotion out of it, because once you get emotional, you can kind of get yourself in a sticky situation, right? You need to know those numbers, right? The thing I love about accounting is really it's the roadmap to business. It'll tell you everything you need to know about a specific facility, unless the numbers are wrong. But yeah, you really need to understand the business, understand the numbers. They will tell you a lot. I mean, John and I have walked into a property and we've looked at it and we felt great about it, and then as soon as we looked at the numbers, we're like, it probably doesn't make the most sense for us, you know? And we just have to kind of move away from it. As much as we may have liked the facility, we sometimes have to walk away from deals that don't financially make sense.
There's one deal that we have, Orange Lake Resort, which we had no financial history, and we had to go completely off, this is going to work, right? So now that one we did look at a lot of other numbers, right? We looked at the fact that it was in Kissimmee, Florida. It shared a fence line with Animal Kingdom, outside of Orlando. It had 2,800 timeshare units, So we felt like there was a customer base underlying, but we didn't have any financial data about the property. But I would say over time, though, we stick to our guidelines because we know what works, and when we've gone outside of our guidelines, that's where properties have struggled. So, yeah.
All right, gentlemen, the Olympics are in the rearview mirror for golf. What were some of your biggest takeaways, or what did you enjoy about the Olympic coverage?
Absolutely baffled that Jon Rahm had a 4-shot lead on the 11th tee box and didn't win the tournament. I mean, he's one of the best players in the world. He had just made 6 birdies on his first 10 holes, and I'm shocked that he came in with missing a couple short putts, making a double on a par 5 that nobody made a double on the entire week. Baffled. And then obviously Scotty, who 62?
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable, So
I was traveling a lot, so I didn't actually get to watch a lot of the coverage, but I did catch the last day, and to see what Scotty did was simply amazing. And to see the raw emotion from him standing on that podium, I mean, that's what it's all about. I felt like it meant more to him than some of the tour victories that he had, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, overall, there was emotion throughout. I mean, you had Victor Perez, who was, from France, right? Coming in with a 29 on the back 9 to try to get to the podium, came up 1 shot short, but thrilled the crowds, right? Thrilled his home base, and you could hear the charge throughout the telecast, just people pulling for him. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but Tom Kim, very emotional from South Korea. If you win a medal and you're from South Korea, you don't have to enlist in military service for the 21-month requirement in South Korea. So he obviously was close, came up short. And he said he wasn't emotional about that, but it's got to play a little bit of a role, right? So, trying to get to the podium to avoid, 21 months, of military service. And I mean, it's kind of amazing that, there's a country out there with that requirement, but there is. And, and that's probably also one of the nice elements about the Olympics was, obviously have players from every different country. And I like seeing players that maybe you haven't heard of or maybe aren't quite as highly ranked. I mean, I like seeing that influx, but it does lead to an interesting question, which is, where do the Olympics fall in the pantheon of golf events? Like how would you weight a gold medal? Do you have any thought about that? How do the tour players weight it? How would you weight it?
I thought it was really cool. I mean, I think it's great that you get to, take these competitors out of the PGA Tour and out of the LIV Tour, put them into their designated countries, where they're originally from, and have them compete at the country level. And to see that raw emotion and that passion fighting for their country and trying to win that event was really, really cool for me. I compared it a lot to a Ryder Cup or a President's Cup event, where you want to go out and fight for your country, and these guys aren't getting paid to do it.
That is a cool element about the Olympics. They're doing it for their country, and it's not financially driven, or that's not the motivation. However, when you think about it, right, I don't think any player out there, unless you're from South Korea, maybe would put a gold medal above one of the 4 majors, right? So where does the Olympic event slot in, And I was trying to think about this. And, I kind of compared the Olympics to like the Players' Championship, at Sawgrass. Like if you had the opportunity to win a gold medal at the Olympics or to win the Players' Championship, which one do you pick? And where I felt was, I think if you're not from the United States, you're going gold 100% in my mind. If you are from the United States, I think it's maybe a toss-up, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather have the Players or would you rather have the gold?
Well, they call the Players' Championship the 5th major, right?
Yep.
So maybe that gold medal is the 6th major.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
It is now time to play a little over-under, so I am going to give our esteemed panel the top 5 career money earners on tour. This is tour only. It does not include endorsements or things of that nature, and we're going to give them a figure, and they are going to tell us if they think it is over or under their career earnings on tour.
John's going to crush this.
No, I'm not. The money's so weird.
It is weird. And this isn't endorsements or anything else. But are you guys aware that the Scotty Scheffler's already top 5 in career earnings?
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's just
Just because with the purses and just how much he's won.
All right, so at number 5 all times, this is updated July of 2024, so it's very recent. So Scotty Scheffler over under PGA career earnings $105 million. Over or under? Let our guest go first.
Under. Oh, sorry. You want to say
I'm going to go over on that.
John, you sticking with under?
I'm going under. That's too much money if you're just a PGA Tour player these days.
1 point, Jason Harshbarger. Career earnings for Scotty Scheffler, $109.3 million.
Wow, good for Scotty.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's doing okay. Phil the Thrill chimes in at number 4, Phil Mickelson. And now, obviously, there's some live earnings here, and there's a myriad of PGA earnings. So Phil's number, over, under, we are going to go $98 million.
This doesn't include Phil's signing bonus to go to live, right?
No, just tour earnings.
Okay, tour earnings.
$98 million.
I'm going under.
John goes under. Jason?
I'm going to go over again.
Oh, harsh 2 for 2. Phil Mickelson, $105.8 million on PGA earnings. Live, he's already earned $6 million just on tour, not including all those ridiculous bonuses and endorsements. Yep. Total earnings of $111.8 million for Phil Mickelson.
Come on, Phil, play well in one live event. Just one. Get in the top 10. Come on.
Jordan, I feel like this is an 18-hole match with John where I'm up like 4 strokes in the front 9, and then I completely collapse in the back.
Okay. We all know what happened.
All right, so now at number 3, we have Dustin Johnson. Again, we got the PGA here and the live here, and we're going to combine both. So we're going to go over under of $150 million for Dustin Johnson.
Well, if I'm going to catch up, I have to do the opposite.
I'll go under on that.
I'm going under too.
Okay, you're both correct. One. We
You're
100
me, Jason.
PGA earnings $97 million, live earnings $51.6 million already. Total earnings of $148.6 million for DJ. Not too shabby.
Nope.
How old is he? Is he even 40 yet? No, he's like 37.
Close to 40, 39
Jeez.
maybe.
Harsh, you had that same net worth in your late 30s, right?
Not even close.
Anybody know who number 2 is all time for a bonus point? John, you can get a bonus point.
Yeah, number 2 all time. Let's think about it. Tiger's going to be 1, I think. Still, so that would put. So Phil's not number 2. So I got to go number 2. Rory McIlroy.
Jason,
yes, Rory McIlroy.
That's correct. Number 2, Rory McIlroy. All PGA earnings, as we know, and we're going to go over under of $175 million in career earnings.
Gosh dang, I want to say over, but I'm going to go over.
Harsh says over. John, $175 million.
Well, once there was a tweet by Rory McIlroy to Brandel Chambly. Chambly said Rory is so comfortable with his $100 million that he's not working hard enough to win the majors.
Oh.
And Rory commented back more like $200 million. I don't know if you know that. So I'm going over.
It is $174 million, so right there. So he's slightly under.
Well, I said over.
Okay, so John.
I blame Rory's tweet.
He said $200 million, but he must have meant endorsements too. And of course, number 1 all time, Tiger Woods. And again, this is just PGA earnings, guys. It is not Nike money or anything like that. What else did he have? Buick, a couple watches,
Monster.
everything. Let's go over under 200 million for Tiger Woods.
Over.
So surprisingly, it's only 185.7 million.
See,
Wow.
you know.
So Harsh takes it home. Well done.
Well done, Jason.
Yeah, that gets you
Disinvited for future podcasts.
that gets you a cup of coffee in the
like a
office you
major
already
for
paid
me.
for.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us, for your knowledge.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for helping with John and the other owners here, creating opportunities for all of us here. We greatly appreciate your knowledge, wisdom, and
My pleasure. We couldn't do it without you guys.
yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, John.
Yep.